I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
He is terrible!
Smacking dudes with his 18-inch meat stick.
Everyone go quick, because I don't give a fuck about anything that's going to happen on Saturday.
Hello, boys! Boy, am I excited. I mean, how can I not be? What I've been asking for in MMA for like the last 3 years on this podcast, pretty much every episode, was the culmination of the new king at lightweight. We got a new champion. Wes, I'll start with you. King Khabib, how does that sound? How does that sound? Don't you like the ring of that?
It's pretty damn good. I know I probably didn't I probably only hit like 2 walls when it happened. You probably hit all 4 walls, just blooging everywhere when that shit happened.
Hands in the Hudson River.
Yeah.
They're soaking wet. I just said fuck it.
Khabib champ, pretty cool. The circumstances surrounding the whole thing is kind of shitty, but somebody's got to have the belt. And I think the rightful heir to the throne has got the belt.
New Shaun, back at it. Can we get a little Canadian perspective here?
Yeah, I mean we've been haters for a while. I mean we've been slowly coming around on him, and I mean I'm pretty happy with what has kind of transpired. I think it's been a while that he's been the best lightweight in the world. He's just got to fight for it. There's been so many hoops to jump through with Tony getting hurt so much and then him pulling out so much. He's been put in some shitty situations, but it was good to see him win. I know some people weren't happy about it, but I don't know. I don't really care. If it gives me better odds against whoever the hell he fights next, I'm totally fine with it because I think he smashes whoever he fights.
Well,
can I say one more thing before we move on? Let Jay get into his. Man, these morons on the internet, like the whole thing with Joe Rogan calling this fight, and then you get on the Twitter and you see the same shit being said that dumbass Joe Rogan is saying while the fight's going on. Look, just because he didn't put Al in a body bag in 30 seconds, I mean, like, he wasn't out there wasn't in any trouble. It wasn't a shitty 3rd and 4th round from Khabib. Khabib landed about 500 jabs on Al's face in the 3rd and 4th round. Like, give me a break, dude. Just because he didn't go out there and just completely done. And not to forget, Al is like a really, really good fucking fighter. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it ain't like he was out there fighting some fucking scrub. But yeah, that's so annoying to watch your eyes watch something like that for 25 minutes and try to pick out any kind of flaw here and there and saying he didn't perform at his best and this and that. That's just, I don't know. That just blows my mind. That shit blew my mind all night. Rogan as bad as he's ever been, and he was like at the pinnacle of his shittiness in that fight right there.
It was so weird because he was pumping him up so much at the start, and then it completely changed to the polar opposite. Like he's the worst. He did
an interview like today or yesterday, and he was saying he was like, "Well, I was there to poke holes in Khabib's game and to make a fight with Conor look more appealing." She's like, no, that is not why you're there. You're there to look at what is happening in the cage and do play-by-play on what is happening in the cage. And what was happening in the cage was not, oh, Al landed one left hook on Khabib. Oh, my God, Khabib's striking. He's got holes everywhere. He can't do that against Conor McGregor. He's going to be knocked out. Like, that was really, really bad, man. You could tell, like, Jimmy Smith.
They were trying to pull him back and kind of say, wow, your expectations are pretty high and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, you know it's bad when Jimmy and Anik are kind of calling him out on his bullshit right as it's happening.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, Jay, Time to celebrate. Give it to us.
Yeah, this is. I was waiting for it. I was literally at the bar with my wife, and I was like counting down the minutes. I'm like, 10 more minutes to the culmination, the whole thing. I get nervous when he fights because I feel that I've talked him up to such a level that at any point in the future when he actually loses a round, let's keep that in mind. This is a guy. I know people are going to talk about this Gleison Tebow fight from like yesteryear, but in that bout, none of the judges said he lost a round, and in every other fight he's ever been in the UFC, he's never lost a round on a scorecard. For a guy who tends to go to a decision more often than not, that's a pretty amazing feat. Daniel Cormier was kind of doing that at one point before he faced Jonathan Dwight.
I feel like they should play that up more when they hype his fights. I haven't really seen much of that. Like, that's insane that he's never done
guy that doesn't
regardless
lose a fight
of the Tebow
but doesn't
fight.
even lose a round. You know,
like why are they not pushing that?
10 fights in the UFC hasn't lost a round officially on the scorecards. Which, again, no one's doing that. I mean, that is the definition of domination. 50-43 on 2 scorecards. I mean, isn't this arguably the most dominant? Aren't those the most dominant scorecards in the history of the UFC? If they're not, they got to be close,
it's
right?
Close, because I mean, they do score the 10-8s a little more freely, but you're right.
He kind of attempted some weird takedowns in the 3rd and 4th and just didn't really care. It seemed like he seemed to want to do like this GSP like jab performance. And I was kind of cool at that. It was actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
He was tooling Al on the feet and landing at will. It definitely showed – I thought he showed more positives than supposed holes. Whatever about that. I would not be worried about that at all. And you could make a case even that the Mighty Mouse, John Jones, George St. Pierre, arguably the 3 most dominant champions in the history of the UFC. I mean, they won kind of similar ways to how Khabib's winning these fights. Dominant decisions for the most part. They're not all over the place stoppages, and doing so in different ways. Grappling, just outclassing guys. So I think he's kind of headed down a similar path. I'm really excited, and I'm going to take this, moment and kind of segue into, the whole nonsense that happened before the fights. Here's my question. I got to think if I could phrase this right. How much do you think it pisses McGregor off inside that he isn't even allowed to tweet any nonsense to Khabib about this fight and about, kind of poking holes at him or anything because of the UFC, because of the judge's ruling that he can't even talk about the UFC on social media right now?
That's a thing?
That's a thing.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's gotta.
Oh, it's got to be eaten.
The one thing about Conor that Conor's done beautifully over this past 500 something days. I know he did have a big boxing match. Give him that, but he's kept his name relevant. You know what I'm saying? He's stayed in the news. Yeah, he's stayed relevant. As shown this past weekend with that bullshit. Well, yeah, this is the time where he better lay low. He's going to have to keep his name out of everything right now. I still wonder, what comes of all this. Dana's already flipping script, so he's not taking a single bit of punishment from the UFC. My whole wonder is what comes legally. I mean, we know he's gonna cop a plea deal. So I mean, he's never gonna step foot in jail. That's of course. But what about what charge ends up going on his record is how hard it's going to be for him to get a work visa in this country. You know what I'm saying? A work visa in, well, he probably never fights in Canada, but a work visa in Canada, a work visa in this country. So. There's a lot of things that can come out of this for Conor as far as financially, and he probably loses a sponsor or two. I don't know, not too many, but man, just get back in the cage, dude. Like, you wouldn't have to do all this dumb shit if you would get back in the cage and fight, you know? None of this shit would be going down like this if that was you fighting Khabib Saturday night. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of this shit falls on him. I don't think all that whole thing was like an absolute work, like everybody's saying. I do think that they wanted Conor there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
To say some bullshit and hype some shit up. I don't for 1 second believe they thought all that shit was going to go down like that. Not for 1 fucking second. Your biggest star in the sport getting let out in handcuffs on national television. And literally, like I tweeted out, all y'all motherfuckers wanted this shit mainstream. Well, it's mainstream now when it was on CNN of Conor being let out of a courthouse in fucking handcuffs. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think they wanted that one bit. But I do think they wanted Conor there and shit. I've seen people saying like, oh man, you want a friend like Conor. He just grabbed the boys and jumped on the private jet to fly over here and defend Artem's honor. Bullshit. Don't give me. They was coming over here for the fight, didn't they? Yeah, they were. He was going to be here for Artem's fight, regardless. I mean, talk about a friend. A friend doesn't come over and get your fucking $15,000 paycheck taken away from you. You know what I'm saying? Like, he better be signing a check to fucking Artem because he cost him his fight. You know. But the whole thing's a fucking shit show, man. You can't tell me for one fucking bit that dude doesn't have a fucking cocaine problem, because I've been watching fucking combat sports for 25 years. I've watched boxing since I was fucking like 5 years old, dude. And I couldn't tell you how many motherfucking boxers I saw back in the 80s that was doing that same exact shit, because they were all zooted up on that fucking white shit, running around acting like idiots. Conor McGregor is zooted fucking out. Somebody needs to get a hold of him. Somebody close to him better get a hold of him.
Yeah, like I think that's what happened. I think they were gonna be there, just to like kind of maybe hype up that fight with Khabib, see what they can do about that, and him cornering or being with Artem, and then they did a bunch of fucking rails. Got a dumb idea.
Boys hyped him up. Yeah, his boys all hyped him up. Yeah.
And they went and did some really stupid shit. With
what else is new? Yeah,
with how much money he has and how high profile he is, I don't think there's going to much come out of this. Both
civil suits.
Yeah, like he might have to. He's going to lose some money, but like as for like jail, he's not going to jail, and I don't think he's going to have any problem. He's not going to have a problem getting a fight or a work visa or any shit like that. He brings in too much money for government.
He'd have to get a felony charge. You know what I'm saying? So. And I don't think he's gonna get a felony charge out of this.
Yeah, so
he's gonna get the fuck suit out of him, though. I'm telling you. And then the lawyer fees on top of it in New York City. You know how much a fucking New York City lawyer costs? Like, seriously, he's gonna lose a lot of money.
That's a pretty dumb mistake, that's for sure.
He deserves it. He deserves it. That was dumb shit. Look, I get all the fucking I like a lot of people in the MMA sphere. I might as well say I like a lot of people in the MMA sphere that get into pro wrestling, and I get all that shit, all that show. This isn't good. That's not good. I'm all for some chaos. I like it. It's cool. But that whole scene there, that ain't cool, man. That's not a good look for fucking anybody. Not for the UFC, not for MMA, not even for Conor McGregor. That's not a good look, dude. All those stills of that dude with his tongue hanging out and him frozen, Artem's over with his hands on his face, and that dude's got that truck bag. That's the worst look you could ever have for Conor McGregor. He looks like a fucking coked out maniac in that. Like, straight up, that's not a good look whatsoever. I don't care what anybody says.
And
he is a coked out maniac.
Yeah, and it's bad because of the pull that he has. So not much is going to come out of this, and then it's just another bad look to show to other fighters that, I mean, if they did anything remotely close to this, they'd be done. But then he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and he will continue. It's just not good for anybody.
Jason Hyde never got to fight the UFC again for pushing the ref a little bit.
Yeah.
Paul Daly was never allowed to fight the UFC again for going after Koscheck after the bell. Like seriously.
Yep.
That's good points.
But yeah. On to better things. Like the fights that happened. Some awesome
it was a good card overall still, wasn't it?
Yeah, with only 9 fights. Jesus.
I guess we can start with the 9-fight card. We obviously touched on the main event, so we'll start backwards from the preliminary card. I'll just kind of read off the results, and you guys can kind of give quick thoughts on the undercard as a whole. Devin Clark edged out Mike Rodriguez, the lone debutant on the card, by decision. Ashley Evans Smith took out Beck Rawlings 30-27 across the board, and I'm pretty sure is going to be Beck Rawlings' last fight in the UFC. Canadian GOAT?
The Great White Hope?
the Canadian gangster?
There it is.
I kind of like it. He's got something going.
I like it.
He beats Evan Dunham by Evan Dunham body shots. This is not the first time Dunham's taken some beating to the body and couldn't handle it. First round. And then interesting fight to finish out the preliminary card. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, split decision win over Felice Herrig.
Jesus Christ.
We can touch on that. Let's start with Wes on. What are your thoughts on these fights?
Yeah, I thought Mike Rodriguez didn't look too bad for about a round, and then there goes. What is it, Jay? He's on E, and they're in a gas station in Miles.
Nope.
Man, Devin Clark dude, he seems like he's got so many skills, but fuck, man, he's just chinny as chinny can be, man. So, yeah, please do away with Beck Rawlings. Man, I'm very impressed by Ohm. I know it was Dunham and all, but man, I've been on the Ohm train since he came off that Canadian Tough. And I think he's just been improving by the fight, man. He's had some tough ones in there, but his hands are improving, and that was damn impressive, man. So I'm looking for him to do some pretty big things going forward, man. I really like that kid. I'm high on him. I don't want to put the Great White Hope on him, but he's really good, man. And then Carolina, that was pretty impressive in my opinion. And that Herring scorecard is just, I'm just tired of seeing this shit, man. It's just, that's atrocious. They got to do away with these fucking people. They need to fire these motherfuckers on spot when they come out with cards like that. Just let them go. Tell them go home. Don't get your fucking check. Your whatever, $2,500 is what they're getting paid or something, Jay. Shouldn't they be able to fucking do this job a little bit better for money like that?
That's a lot of money for one night's work.
Yeah, $1,500 or $2,000 or something like it. God, yeah, that's fucking hell of money.
I mean, to not do something correctly. Yeah. I mean, okay. I mean, sure. I mean, look, I don't know if you got to pay expenses, to get there or any of that stuff. I don't know how all that works. Still, I mean, we're not talking about chump change. I mean, and to not do and to get these scores wrong, on the regular, man, it's a real problem. New Shaun?
Ohm really needs to hit me up for some cash, because every time I bet an over in his fight, he gets a pretty impressive win. It happened in the Goody fight. It happened in the Dober fight. And then I passed on it in the Tony Martin, and he won a split decision. And then I did it in the Dunham fight, and he destroyed Evan Dunham. So yeah, that was a swing and a miss on my part, but very impressive win on his part. It was pretty sweet the way he finished that. Like, I mean, he just pinpointed where Dunham was hurt, lifted up his elbow or his arm, and drove his knee into it again. Like, it's pretty sweet stuff. I'm not crowning him. I just hopefully he continues to do well, and hopefully I don't jinx him.
I'm gonna start asking for Canadian pound for pound top fives, like almost every like at least once a month, because I want constant updates. Those Laramie boys,
1-2 every week.
Fuck's sakes.
And the Baudelaire boys, or whatever the hell they're called,
the Desjardins, boys. But yeah, and then brutal scorecard. I mean, it was pretty cut and dry, 29-28 in that fight for Koala Bear, but somebody can't do their fucking job. But
can you at least agree that Felice Herrig is way better than she was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She was competitive in this fight.
Yeah.
There's no denying that.
At times, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, considering where Carolina was considered like about a year ago, which is like
she was like number 2 ranked, number 3 ranked fighter in that weight division.
Yeah.
I mean, Herrig's a legitimate top 10 strawweight, I think. I mean, like maybe closer to like 8 or 9, but
yeah, on the high end.
I think she's kind of there. I mean, she's competitive. Got to give her credit. She's definitely putting the work in the gym. Main card, Chris Grutzemacher with the biggest win of his career by far, taking out. I think it's getting close to the end of the line for Joe Lozon. You're talking about running on E-West. I think that's where we are with Joe Lozon. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope he calls it after this. If not this, let the UFC try to get him something in Boston against like a complete garbage can. But
this was a garbage can, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't believe.
Let's not get crazy here.
I didn't believe that he was an absolute garbage can.
I mean, how low do we gotta go?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
he's a live body. I mean, he's a live body. He has some skills. But, he's just not. He's not dynamic. Improved.
I tell you, his physical condition and shit is as good as I ever seen coming in this fight. Like that dude used to be fucking a tub of shit. Like he was in shape for this fight, man. I'll give it to Grutzemacher. I did bet him at plus money here, but it was way more of a fade of Joe, and yeah, I believe it even more after watching that fight, man. I hope he calls it. Like that dude is giving us some just amazing fights over what 8, 9, 10 years now. So yeah, if you're losing to the Grutzemachers of the world, yeah, it's probably time for Lozon. It seems like he's got things going on out of the sport too with academies and shit like that. So just go teach, man, and save your brain because it's already looking like a cup of fucking applesauce, man.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he called boys to men, and the end of the road is here. So, next fight, sad news here.
It had to happen sometime.
It had to happen, and the only reason I think it happened is because Zabit injured his hand for the fight, so he didn't get the finish. But man, this was fun and entertaining, and you got to learn a lot about both fighters. Wes, I'll start with you. I'm sure you enjoyed this.
Yeah, this was a hell of a fight, and all props to Bosniak too for being the other side of a hell of a fight because that little sequence at the end was just. That was as good as that Max Holloway, Dennis Bermudez, or Max Holloway, Lamas fucking throwdown. That was up there with that for me. But I'm just as impressed with Zabit here as I was going in. I think we didn't know about it, but he did. He didn't break his hand, but he did have like a really bad pulled strained ligament in his hand, which can be almost worse sometimes than having a broken hand. And I think he went all out in those first couple rounds. And man, some of the shit that dude was hitting, it's just, he's so skilled, man. Besides the skills, human beings just aren't built like that at 145 pounds walking this planet. I mean, that dude is just massive. I don't know how on earth that guy makes 145 pounds. But yeah, you could see in the third that Bosniak, he showed his toughness, man. He took all that shit in those first couple rounds, man. I think Zabit started slowing down a lot in the third. So you can see that that's a weakness. I think that is a little bit of a weakness. He's got some things to work on. But yeah, man, I'm still very impressed with Zeb, and I'm still absolutely convinced that he's competing for a title here in the very near future. And again, props to Bosniak, man, because yeah, that dude is tough as a $2 steak, man, and that was a hell of a fight.
New Shaun, what did you think?
Just surprised that Bosniak was able to just take that. he looked nowhere near done. So I don't even know if Zabit didn't hurt his hand if he would have got put out there. That was very impressive. I don't know what his skill level is at, but that toughness is going to keep him in a lot of fights, and his cardio was there the whole time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, especially getting
he's
beat
going to
on like
outlast guys, man. Yeah, he's just going to outlast dudes in this sport.
And
crazy.
Then just beautiful from Zabit. Might want to scale it back just a tiny bit, the spinning shit and stuff like that, just because the higher you get up, the more risky that is, and it does take a lot of energy, and we did see him kind of slow down a bit at the end there, but the trips he did, like there's a highlight GIF of that Capozza retweeted or put out, and wow, very impressive fight. Can't wait to see that guy fight again.
Yeah, I've been touting him now for, since I think he debuted in the UFC. I think he's, people probably think I'm crazy, but I think he's right. I think he's about the third best fighter in the division. The only thing I don't think he seems to have is KO power in his hands, but everything else is awesome. The takedowns, the submission game. He could do, ground and pound. Obviously, there's a lot of variety in the stand-ups. He's gigantic for the weight class. There's a lot to like. I think he's the second best Dagestani fighter in the UFC currently. I would continue to watch him and continue to bet him. I think it's going to be very hard to beat him. All things considered. Anyway, next fight up, also in the featherweight division, and another, two interesting guys here. I was kind of surprised by the way it played out, and just how good the winner looked. Renato Moicano, clear decision over Calvin Cutter. Wes, what'd you think of this one?
It actually kind of played out close to how I thought it would. I bet Moicano here though at plus money. I like Cater a lot, man. I think he's really, really good. He was just, I don't know. People were kind of overlooking his second round against Burgos. I think he, just because of the just highlight reel knockout he got in the third, he got to put on him quite a bit. I thought Moicano, dude, is a guy that usually comes in with a very, very good game plan, and like very few fighters, he actually sticks to it. Even when things get a little crazy, he kind of gets everything back together and gets back to doing his game plan. And I don't know, just take away a game plan. He looked great against Cater. He actually looked way better than I thought he was going to, even though I picked him to win and bet him. So yeah, very, very impressed by this dude, man. I don't know. I think he, at this point, he's just a better fighter than Cater is. And, probably got a pretty bright future now at 145. I mean, he's 12-1 now with some pretty good wins. I know a lot of people want to shit on the Stevens win, but that's what he does. I look at that as a really, really good win too. So, he needs to get a pretty big fight next time out, I believe.
New Shaun.
Yeah, really impressed with Moicano as well. I think I got to stop underestimating this guy. I know Wes touched on that Stevens fight. I think that is like the most extreme version of his game plans. I don't think any of the other ones have been as bad. Just really impressive. I wish he had just a little bit more KO, more power, because that dude would be really good if he had just a little bit more power in his hands. Because once he gets comfortable in there and starts throwing, he mixes it up well and throws some really good combos in there. It was a good fight. Calvin Kattar looked good early, but Moicano just took over and was just too good.
Yeah, this was a really impressive performance. I thought his speed was the difference in this bout over Calvin Kattar. That really kind of surprised me that he had that kind of a speed advantage. Again, he doesn't have big punching power, kind of like Zab in that regard, but he's game, and he had a really effective game plan. I think he's one of the smarter fighters in this division, and that's going to push him a little higher than maybe his actual physical ceiling is. So I think he's the type of guy who could be in the top 10 of the featherweight division for the next 3 to 4 years. Honestly, that wouldn't surprise me, as older guys like Alamas, or I don't know where Chad Mendes really is, or eventually Jeremy Stevens or Frankie Edgar, based on their age, and it's they're gonna fade out at some point in the near future. You're gonna need to have new guys kind of come in and take these new spots, and be potential, even potential title challengers or kind of in the hunt. And Moicano certainly seems like one, and Zabit's clearly one in my regards, in my opinion. So I would continue to look for these guys, and they should be good bets moving forward as they continue to move up the weight class. And the last fight we got to touch on, the women's strawweight title fight between Rose Namajunas and Joanna and Jacek. It seems like this happens more often than not. The rematch, goes to the fighter that won the first time out. We saw it with Max Holloway and Jose Aldo. That's one recent example. Weidman and Anderson Silva is another one as well. Rose gets the job done. Wes, what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say on this one. I'm a little biased because I did bet the side, but I actually thought JJ won. I thought she took the last 3 rounds. She outstruck her by a lot over the last 3 rounds.
I think she actually had more strikes in all 5 rounds of the fight. But
yeah, well, she outstruck her by like 100 or something over the entire fight. But her. Not all of her punches were doing the damage that some of Rose's did, but by the end of the fight, Rose's face was pretty jacked up too. You could tell. And then it's still not scored like it should be, but the leg kicks that JJ landed in this fight were the difference, in my opinion. She just lit Rose's leg up the entire fight. Even when she was losing the first couple rounds, she was banking those leg kicks. And come the third round, they started paying off. Rose slowed badly. And I thought JJ did enough in the 5th to win. I had it even going into the 5th, and I thought JJ did enough in the 5th to take the 5th. It was close. Like I said, I couldn't argue the decision whatsoever. Can't argue if you gave Rose the 5th. I could get the argument. I don't agree with it. I thought JJ landed more, which she did. Numbers show she landed more in the 5th. It was a close round. So I'm not overly mad about it or anything. I lost money, so I'm definitely biased for JJ in that fight. But I thought she did enough to win the 5th and win the fight. And I don't really know if you run this back again right now. I think you get Rose a different opponent. And
it's going to be Andrade.
Yeah, and she's going to get smashed by Andrade. So we'll probably see JJ Andrade again, something like that. But I can't see Rose beating her. I can't. I just don't think her game is set up for that kind of fight. So, yeah, but that's the fight to do. I don't think you run this back for a third time.
No, I agree with that. New Shaun, did you score it the way West did, or did you give it to Namajunas?
I had it 3-2 for Rose. I didn't fight. I didn't have a bet on either side or the fight at all. Gave Rose 1, 2, and 5. The 5th was close, for sure. I was happy to see Rose come back because I really thought she was done after the 4th round. I think everybody does, and then especially the people who call her a quitter and a frail fighter. So that was good to shut up.
She was like plus 400 something going into the 5th round.
So it's good to.
And it wouldn't have mattered. because all 3 judges.
I know. The crazy thing about that is, those scorecards are absolute trash. The hilarious part is, all 3 of them scored at 49-46 Rose, and not a single one had the same card. Every single one was different.
What else is there?
It's fucking brutal, man. Like these fucking judges.
Dude, and literally like every single person that I follow on Twitter had the same exact scorecard. They just had the fifth different. Yeah, every single person I saw.
It was easily 3-2 for Rose or for JJ.
Yep. And the same rounds though too. Like
yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, fifth.
And then fifth was the swing. So, but obviously, fucking judges. Yeah, what can you do? But yeah, I think there's actually been odds already actually put out. I don't know at where specifically, but they have it at pretty much a pick'em. It's Andrade minus 120, Rose plus 100. I don't know if that opens up anywhere else.
Is this the first time ever a champion would be the underdog in 2 straight title defenses? It's got to be, right? I mean, it's not a big underdog, but you know,
she's. I have a feeling when it gets opened at some other places that she will be an underdog, and I would have to think that would be the case.
It's pretty amazing.
She closed a slight fave, I believe, against JJ.
Yeah, but I mean, she was the underdog the whole damn time.
Yeah, and a big one to begin with too. Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting times. That'll be a good fight.
I actually scored it the same way Shaun did. The first 2 for Rose, the next 2 for Joanna, and then I gave Rose the final round. I thought she had the more effective strikes in the 5th round. I think most people, I'm starting to learn that I think that most people look at head strikes and like don't value the other strikes at all, other than if it's. If it actually forces you down or you back away with like a body shot, or
leg kick still ain't scored right by anybody.
Or at least not like unless they're like super heavy leg kicks where like you could see the physical damage like right away.
But, I mean, you could see it and they still didn't.
Yeah,
I mean, she was limping. She was so much less mobile, and they still can't even see it.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Her lead leg looked like hamburger, like straight up hurt from the top of her thigh to like the mid of her calf. Literally was purple. You know what I'm saying? Like she tore her fucking leg up.
These judges are just fucking trash.
Yeah, they are. They are. And I agree too that I thought, it's never really a good look when you win the first 2 and then I think you clearly lose the next 2 rounds and then you get to the 5th. Rarely does a fighter come back. That's just the way it is. I mean, look at the Romero versus Whitaker fight. Mm-hmm. It was kind of similar, like kind of dominant one way, then the other way. But obviously the 5th, went towards the the current champion.
Connor about the last one I can really remember.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's the only one that I can think of. We were talking about that, Wes.
Well, didn't he win the 4th round? Though?
Yeah, so it was a little bit different. He looked done after the 3rd, and then he came back and got a second win the 4th and lost the 5th. But I can't remember a time when in a main event or a big fight like that's kind of happened where you looked done and was able to come back and win.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, we don't need to get into the weeds,
especially a 5-round fight too.
Yeah, the blood factor and the sight line, and there's some additional reasons there, but that's probably a good point. Didn't really think of that. Anyway, good fight card. New champion in lightweight. New contenders at featherweight. So overall, not bad, and probably the end of Beck in the UFC, and hopefully Magana too. We never have to hear from those 2 dumbleweeds ever again, and that's a great thing. We'll see if I get blocked from Twitter by someone else for a comment like that.
Put another medal on the shelf.
I got a few.
Hey, when you're an industry insider like you, Jay, those things are just going to happen. Little could be bear poking for the old podcast.
Little poke. So apparently there are 14 fights scheduled.
That's a big
next
fight
Saturday.
card. Holy shit!
Can we take an over/under on how many fights we think actually is going to happen?
I think it should be set. It should be set at probably 12.5.
Yeah, I would
they're-
probably set it at 12.5.
They're all going to happen, so we get a Fox main event at like 1:00 in the morning.
Well, you're gonna
You
get
know
that anyway, even though it's only a 4-fight main card.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So do we think 12.5? Do we think under or over?
I mean, we got some pretty mookie motherfuckers on this card. Like, I could absolutely see a fucking sauna accident happening. I could see a tiramisu incident happening. Yeah, there's some mookie ones on here. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okami.
Shit, they're probably bringing Okami out like Weekend at Bernie's and shit. So I mean, who fucking knows, man?
You got. I mean, we can start right at the bat. I mean, we got a guy that I used to think pretty highly of, but who's turned super mookie, and Luke Sander taking on Dirty Pat Williams. I mean, oh man. I mean, this fight's not happening, is it?
I don't know. It might.
Luke Sanders gonna get popped with a fucking CBD pen before he even weighs in. Bet.
He's minus 470, I think. In this
I
battle.
know. I feel like we keep overrating this guy, and I know Patrick Williams is so bad, but
I don't know if we're overrating him as a talent.
He's just not that good.
He's just a Scoggins.
Yeah.
Scoggins is like top 7-8 ability. It's just that he's mook. I mean, that's what I think of. He's a mook.
Yeah. Yep.
Captain Mook Sanders. I mean, jeez. There's no cool hand about it.
No, definitely not.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to throw half a unit on Patrick Williams and pick him in Toutmaster because minus 430 is kind of crazy for a guy who just really finds ways to lose.
I'm fine with that.
He's been finished in his last 2 fights. I know Patrick Williams is terrible. He should lose this, but I'll pay half a U to see it happen.
I don't hate that, Wes.
Yeah, I hate to agree right off the bat, but Patrick Williams is just a trash can. But man, Luke Sanders, he is Scoggins light. That dude is dumb as a box of rocks, man. So yeah, I don't know if I'll take the money shot, but I'll definitely be picking Patrick Williams and Toutmaster, and I don't see any way on this planet how you take Luke Sanders at this point at over 4-1. That's just insane.
I mean, they usually say things come in threes, and he's had 2 mook performances in a row, so
let's make it a hat trick.
Yeah, let's make it a hat trick. Why not? I do rate him a C-, and I do have Pat Williams a D+. Sanders is significantly better and more talented than Pat Williams, but mentally, it just hasn't been good. And I feel once you have, one performance like that, okay. But then you have 2 in a row, you start to think there's a problem. It's not always about physicality. Sometimes it's just mental warfare. Some people are fantastic at it. It seems like Renato Moicano is one of those kind of guys that we talked about earlier on the show, and some guys just don't have it. And
some people are front runners, and then when there's some resistance there, then it just all falls apart. All the confidence goes away, and
we can call that Rousey syndrome. Is right. So, yeah, be careful. If you're really rooting for or really think Luke Sanders is going to run through Pat Williams. Another bantamweight bout up. We got Matt Lopez, wrestler Matt, taking on former Tough Latin America. One of my favorite seasons of Tough, Alejandro Perez. Wes, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I think this is a really close fight. I think it's hard for me to pick. I think Lopez is probably the more naturally kind of talented guy, But man, Perez is just a tough out. This dude is tough. He makes a fight tough. He makes everything about it tough. So he's got a couple pretty good wins his last couple fights too. So I'm probably going to pick him here. I'm still debating on a bet. I just think he can make this a really dirty, ugly fight. And Lopez he wants some stuff at distance and to strike a little bit more. I just think Perez is going to be up in his shit here. Can make it a dirty fight and get a close decision. So I'm gonna pick Perez.
New Shaun.
Don't have too much on this fight. I think you got to worry a bit when it comes to Matthew Lopez about him fighting Sun Sao. That's a really high-ranked fighter. Gets knocked out, and maybe we see him kind of, lose his mojo after that, and kind of underestimate a lesser fighter in Perez. So yeah, I'll probably pick Perez, but no bet here.
Okay. I got Lopez a C, Alejandro Perez a D+. I just like Lopez's grappling game a bit more. I think he kind of could take Perez to the mat, and he could definitely get some control in that regard. Lopez is getting older, though, so it's just that's part of the game here is you just don't know when, it's going to kind of tail off and, the aggression's really going to start to kick in. But, Lopez has fared decently well in the UFC. He certainly didn't do well in his last fight, but very few folks do well against Rafael Sunsao. So I think this is a better matchup for him. I think he gets the job done. So, yeah. Heavyweight bout up next. We got another Canadian GOAT candidate.
Greg Brownhope?
Arhan Ferris Bueller.
There we go.
Taking on Adam Wizarek. Let's go with that. New Shaun, I got to start with you because, you are a resident Canadian, at least on this particular episode of the MMA Analysis.
Yeah, this is...
Yeah. Tell me how good is Bueller's day off?
Bueller, it was a pretty rough last fight. I was in attendance there. I know he was hyped up a bit. He does train with the old... he has trained with like Cormier and them a bunch. So they were kind of pumping his tires pretty good. And then he couldn't get old Henrique out of there. It was a pretty ugly fight. Can Khabib out wrestle him? It's probably close. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, this is heavyweights where goes the distance is -110. You know what kind of fight we're in for here. It's gonna be an ugly one.
Are you gonna do a Brad?
I'm not taking fatties. It's over 2.5, and
it's
-145.
Yeah.
And Bueller's day off is -370. I know Wizarek or whatever the hell his name was is not that good, but heavyweights laying that kind of juice in a heavyweight fight against a guy that's not really a finisher, that's pretty scary stuff. I'll pick Bueller, but no chance I would put money on that guy at that kind of juice.
Wes, I'll let you take a gander here and tell New Shaun how good this Canadian really is.
Well, first off, me and Brad talked about it last time. They're really starting to get us with these what our fatty's gonna fatty. We're getting a lot more 2.5s now than 1.5s.
They've learned their lesson when it comes to that, and then women's over. Both of them.
Yeah,
they've learned their lesson.
They're starting to get us, man. Yeah, I don't know how good this dude. I mean, he's already like 31 years old, man. He's, I don't know, man. When you're going 3 rounds with fucking Frankenstein, man, I don't know. You can't lay that kind of juice on that guy here. I would absolutely be on an over if it was 1.5, though. There's no doubt about that. I think this is just going to be just some slop fest. I'll probably pick fucking Warzerac or whatever the fuck we're calling him, and Toutmaster, because I just this line's just kind of stupid to me. Bueller probably wrestles him for 3 rounds, though. I wouldn't be shocked to see that, but I just think it's ugly, just an ugly fight.
It's never pretty at this level of heavyweight MMA. I got Bueller a D+, I think. It's hard to grade him here because we still haven't seen that much. And I got Wizerac an F. He's just freaking terrible. I mean, there's no really need to belabor the point. I'm gonna believe a little more in Bueller because I don't think this is gonna be his day off. I think he wins, and that gives him a winning streak, which is a rare thing for a Canadian MMA fighter, especially one at heavyweight.
That's right.
Now we really moving up on the card. Diego Lima, Yushin Okami. I mean,
is this at welterweight?
This is at welterweight.
Oh my God, Okami.
Wes, I'm going to start with you.
Look, I think this shit literally might be a weekend at Okami situation because they might pull Okami out on fucking strings and boards, dude. I don't know.
Lion shirt out and get a thick mustache.
A couple those round sunglasses and shit. Yeah, I mean, fucking Os fucking tagged him up last time, choked his ass out. I don't know what you're getting out of Okami anymore. This dude's he's been in so many wars. I will say this is the shitty Lima, and he did get just mauled by Jesse Taylor last time, but I think we all thought he was going to get mauled by Jesse Taylor. I know I did. I had a ton of money on JT in that fight. I think he popped dirty afterwards, but that doesn't change our winning.
Cashes that bet, baby.
Yes, it does. But on that tough, man, Lima had some really good wins, man, and his and the bigger thing I think is his chin held up. I mean, he was in there he fought Hader Hassan, who was throwing fucking heat at him for 2 rounds. Gilbert Smith was throwing heat at him for 2 rounds, and he was in there. He took some shots and his chin held up. So I like him in this fight. I think he's going to beat Okami here. And like I said, it's more that I think the chin holds up, and Okami's just, man, I think he's completely washed. So I'll probably take a small shot on the shitty Lima here, just because it's pretty much a pick 'em, and I think Okami's completely done.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. New Shaun.
I was kind of hoping we were going to get a double knockout prop, one of those like plus 10,000 double knockout props, because I mean, it's definitely possible when you got these two together in a fight.
You mean Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah, pretty much. I have no idea who's going to win this fight. The under 2.5 is plus 200. I know Lima's chin has looked a bit better recently, but I just don't know how long.
It's still shitty Lima. Yeah, it's still shitty Lima.
So
dude.
I might just throw a half U for some fun on the under at plus 200. I guess I'll take Okami. I don't know. Fuck these. Okami at welterweight is weird to me, even though he's been there, I guess, for a couple fights now. I just don't understand how he makes that. And
he used to be massive.
I know, like he used to fight like 205, like
yeah,
dude.
He was
185, and I don't know. I guess I'll pick Okami. I really think this is a true coin flip fight. That's all I got.
I got Lima a D and Okami a D+, and that's really just on the fact that he's moving down in weight class where I think his strength should be a factor. And if he's got anything left, he's going to be able to take Lima down fairly easily, in my opinion. And he could ragdoll him on the map, but you just don't know what he's got left. And I don't even know if you could know if he's got anything left, even if you watch him train every day. That's really the hard part. This has got to be like one of the worst back-to-back fights the UFC's booked all year. I know we're getting a little bit of that because of the 14 fights, and I'm honestly might put this in the clubhouse as the clubhouse leader of the fight that doesn't take place. If we had to set lines on which of the 14 fights doesn't happen, this is probably the favorite, right?
Was Dobson the one that missed weight?
Shayna Dobson?
Yeah, was she that's the one you're talking about, right? Or are you talking still about Lima?
Lima and Okami.
Oh, you're still talking about that. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
I thought you were shitting on the next fight.
Not yet. I'm shitting on this fight still.
Okay.
Which is, the next fight, I'm not even going to, I'm fine. I'm going to go with Okami just because I know what Okami's been able to do in his career. I mean, Lima's never really gotten started, and I'd even make a case that Lima is, in terms of fighters that have had brothers that have fought at high levels of MMA, the skill gap between these two brothers might be the highest or the most that I've ever seen between high-level MMA brother combos.
I would do you one better with the Miller brothers. Or, Lozon brothers. Joe Lozon to his brother is fucking night and day.
Well, I seen them fight in the backyards of wherever the.
That was awesome. I love those videos, man.
I mean, Diego's terrible.
He is terrible.
He has a UFC fight in 2018 though. Like Dan Lozon fought in the UFC like 8 years ago when there's a fucking drunk getting beat up by fucking Joe Lozon at picnics and shit. You know. It's close.
We'll have this discussion another day. Yeah, I would need to think about this more and see who else would be worthy of this list because this is
pretty good though.
Worthy of a conversation. We got a little less to talk about. I'm not going to touch on the next bout. I don't care. Dobson and Mueller. Do either of you really want to spend more than 5 seconds on this?
Fuck no.
Dobson. That's it.
Shaun.
I hope one of them misses weight and the fight doesn't happen.
No overbet here.
No, I don't give a shit enough to even put money on it. What is the fucking over? I haven't even looked at it. That's how much I care. It's minus 290. God damn it. These fucking assholes putting too much juice on these overs. I'll pass.
The return of Gilbert Burns is coming up.
Hey.
Taking on a newbie.
Something
called the Hitman. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, Dan, the Hitman Morit. I'm the only one excited about that, I guess.
That's
if he comes out to Bret Hart music, I am fucking sold.
Pants off.
If he comes out with,
did you see his gym affiliation?
If he comes out with 2 jars of fucking ragu in his hands, I will fucking just lose it.
Is that where Brock Lesnar? Is that what? Minnesota Martial Arts Academy? Oh, the lab. Oh, okay. I thought it was the other one.
Oh!
I say if I see him come out with 2 fucking jars of ragu in his hand.
What are the odds? Take a little gander here. We got a lab product plus 440.
You know who's betting
that. You're not getting that on fight day. I can assure you.
Half that. It's just going to be cut in half.
Not happening.
Yeah, especially when the odds makers open it on only plus 300. You're getting it plus 540. That's a guaranteed play, right?
I think it has to be.
It has to be.
Without even knowing much about Dan Moore, I might actually have to spend time writing an article on Dan Moore this week. I think any MMA lab prospect deserves that time and day.
Yeah, he's won his last 2 fights by submission, and he's going against Gilbert Burns.
Yep.
Good luck with that.
That sounds very difficult.
That's going to be a tough one.
Considering Burns is top 5 in the UFC and submission.
What a shitty remake of a fight. Gilbert Burns was like scheduled to fight against Wes's cousin, and then that doesn't happen. And now he's fighting fucking something called Dan Moore.
That would have been good. That would have been good.
Yeah, it would have been very good, but I don't know. I think he ended up getting hurt, and then I guess they can't get anybody at 155. Like, isn't that the biggest weight class there is? Instead, they got to get some new guy from Minnesota.
Minnesota.
That's pretty good, Shaun.
There you go. It's almost Canada, so there you go.
Yeah. They do like split the line of like fucking American accent to move it up fucking north. Like it's right there, dude.
There's really a transition, so it's kind of our transitional state. Moving up to the televised card.
Hold up. Got to make my pick.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Okay, make your pick.
I'm taking Burns.
There we go.
Okay.
Big shocker.
You're going out on a limb there.
Hardly.
Out of Lima. Yeah. Middleweight bout on the televised card. Interesting bout. Two ranked fighters. We got Krzysztof Jotko, the Polska. I believe he's Polish, right? I'm pretty sure. Yes, he is. Taking on Hawaiian Brad Tavares in what is likely going to be a very boring bout. Shaun, you agree with that?
Fucking over is minus 290. I wanted to play that. Why can't they give me better odds on this? The odds makers know this is going to be a terrible Wallenstall fight. Jotko coming off that knockout from Hall, that's kind of sketchy. Tavares, he's gone to decision 3 straight times, and they've been all pretty terrible. So I wish we could bet on what's going to be the worst fight of the night. I'd maybe toss some money on this because it'd probably be a little bit better odds. But I'll pick Jotko at plus 15. I'm not going to bet it, but I think he's just a bit better here.
I don't hate it. Shaun, or rather Wes, you're up.
Yeah, it's hard. It's crazy that Tavares is still only like 30 years old. Dude seems like he's been around forever. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way as Shaun in this fight. I think it's really close. It's going to be really shitty. A lot of shit against the cage, but I think Jocko's better there. I think Tavares would want this more in the center of the cage. I don't think it's going to be there. Yeah, I think Jocko's just a little bit better in the clinch. There's a lot of times in fights where Tavares can get in that position and do a whole lot of nothing. He's not been in the best shape lately either. Seems to gas later in fights. Jocko's usually always in pretty good shape. So yeah, I like Jotko here as a dog. I think I played him. It was like plus 120, I believe. Yeah, it was something like plus 120. So yeah, Jotko for me.
I got both these guys to C+. I think it's going to be very competitive. A decision very, very likely. I give the slight edge to Tavares just because I think he's a more dynamic striker. I think he's given up a little size here, though, and I do expect a lot of kind of cage kind of gamesmanship. So again, close bout, going to decision. I think this is a fight to avoid betting, but I'll give Tavares again the slight advantage because of just a bit more of a dynamic striking game. Flyweight bout, I believe, is up next. We got Wilson Hayes and John Moraga. Wes, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I don't really get the line on this fight whatsoever. I love Hayes in this fight. I'm pretty big on minus 140 here. I mean, you got Moraga that was talking about retirement like 6 months ago, and he gets a close decision win over fucking Mkhitaryan, and then he catches the Russian last time out, which was a good win, but still, man, how it happened, I don't get how Hayes is such a short line here against a guy talking about retirement 6 months ago, and Hayes' last 2 fights were against Demetrius and Cejudo, and Cejudo's just on another level right now. I think we can all agree that that man's he's on a mission to get back to DJ. So, man, I just don't think this fight is close, man. Is Moraga really going to take Wilson Hayes down? I can't see that. Can Hayes pretty much take this fight wherever he wants it to go? Yeah. He's way better on the feet. I mean, I don't get it here. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it's a quote unquote trap. I'll pay to find out. I'm going to pay pretty big too, because this is my favorite bet on the entire card. Hayes minus 140.
New Shaun.
Yeah, I agree with Wes. This is it's pretty baffling. The skill difference here is pretty big for this to be almost a pick'em fight. Like Wes said, Moraga was talking about retirement. He gets a decision win against Trash Can Mukhtarian. And I mean, he got a nice win against Bibulatov. I think that was kind of a fluky win, in my opinion.
Fluky and Mookie.
There we go. And I know Hayes is coming off that TKO from Cejudo, but he's had some good recovery. He just the skill difference is so big. Like we were kind of high on Moraga. He had some decent wins, but we know who he has wins against Ortiz, who shits away has kind of lost some weird fights, and then he beat Scoggins, who shits away fights. So he doesn't have any good wins in my opinion. Not recently anyway. I think this is going to be it's a steal of a price at minus 140. I played it for 2 units.
I got Moraga a C+, Wilson Hayes a B-. I'm going to kind of agree with New Shaun here. I think what he's really trying to say is that Wilson Hayes is the far more reliable fighter. He's a consistent performer that seems to get results across the board. Moraga seems to lose to quality competition, and then it seems to have bad performances as well, and a couple shocker wins over fighters that are highly talented, but again, kind of like a Luke Sanders, high end talent, but can't always get to the finish line. Hayes knows how to get to the finish line. He'll get the job done here, likely by decision, and he is our MMA Analysis consensus bet of the week. The plan here is to get back on the winning streak, get back in the green after a rare losing week. And even because we had a losing week, we're not just going to give you one pick this week. We're going to give you 2 consensus bets this week. So check that out later on this fight card. We'll announce that second bet. Another debutant up in the next fight, I believe he's a homie of the Lance Fishel, Ricky Rainey, taking on a dude who had a really disappointing UFC debut, Muslim Salikov. I'll start with Wes. Does the Dagestani man get back on track, or does Lance Fishel have another claim to fame where one of his friends now has a win in the UFC?
Yeah, this is kind of a tough one for me after that last fight for Muslim. If this fight was before his last fight, I would have no hesitation picking him, and who knows what would happen. But yeah, man, that was kind of a bad performance. I mean, Alex Garcia isn't horrible, but I don't think he's as good as we all thought he was going to be. And man, he put it on him in that fight, man. It was kind of surprising. I don't think Ricky Rainey is just some overly skilled guy, man, but he's going to be a tough out here, man. He can wrestle pretty good. I just don't know. That this is a real tough one for me. I'm still kind of going back and forth here. Right now, I'm leading Muslim, but man, just at almost 2-1 coming off that last performance, it's just kind of hard. I don't know if he keeps coming down and gets in the minus 150 area or something like that. I'm gonna have to find out if that last fight was just a fluke or not. But I think Rainey is going to be a pretty tough out here. I do favor the Russian though, and I think he gets it done.
Nusha, what do you think this city in Dagestan is like? Maka, I don't know how to pronounce it. Makachala, or however. Let me.
My cock in your ass.
I mean, yeah. I mean, this. I gotta look this place up.
That's where he's from. That's where he's from, or what?
Shuttered. Baron Code was shuttered factories everywhere.
This freaking place has about 500,000 people. Okay,
that's more than I thought.
I mean, Jesus Christ, though, how many fighters they produce? It's like unbelievable.
That's because when you're there,
walk down the street and people are just wrestling bears and
either you learn how to fight or you die there. Jay, that's the only the strong survive, so that's kind of why the concentration is so high. There ain't shit all else to do but fight.
They're born into different shit than we are, man.
Oh, that's true.
Shit.
That's like there's more hockey, like NHL hockey players per capita than anywhere in the world than in Saskatchewan. Because guess what? There ain't nothing to do other than play hockey.
You mean, for the population, not by the land.
No, the population.
There's a lot of land.
Yeah, there ain't much for population though. So
no.
Yeah, I don't know too much about this fight. I don't know how did the UFC just snipe Ricky Rainey from Bellator? I mean, he's just an all-star over there. It's kind of crazy. He beat
Speaking of snipe, Ricky the Sniper.
That's the nickname.
The Sniper Rainey.
Just a case.
Let's ask Lance about that one.
Yeah, 34-year-old versus a 33-year-old. That's a long time coming for old Ricky Rainey. I hope that Salikov can do what he does best and throw some crazy spinning shit, and Rainey just doesn't ground him out. I would hope that the UFC would know that he's going to be able to do that, because it's going to be boring as fuck if he doesn't. I'll pick Salikov, but no way you can bet him at almost 2-1 with what he showed last fight.
Fair. This is tough because Rainey kind of has the kryptonite that could beat Salikov. But Rainey in his last two fights, or last two losses, were to Michael Page and Chadianko Shawani. So, two gifted strikers beat him. Those were his last two losses. Salikov certainly, is a gifted striker in his own right, but just the way he kind of was taken down at will by Alex Garcia, hard to really back in with your money, especially and as a favorite in this bout. So, again, a little buyer beware there if you're looking to play Muslim Salikov. Getting close to the main card, we got one more fight on the undercard, and this is a pretty good one. Timmy Bowe taking on Antonio Carlos Jr. Shoeface. New Shaun.
I think this is finally going to be a fight where we see if the old Shoeface that shits away a win against a lesser fighter that is tough and isn't going to go away too easy. We saw that against Dan Kelly, kind of against Patrick Cummins. So it's kind of in that range. I gotta believe that Shoeface is going to be able to get him down and dominate him there, but just based on Jacare doing it, I know Shoeface isn't that level, but his jiu-jitsu is really good, but he does tend to gas, and that's kind of an issue. So I would be scared to kind of lay that juice on old Shoeface, but I can't really put my money on old Timmy Bosch, rolling back the clock after, barely beating. Well, I mean, he knocked out Johnny Hendricks, but I mean, that's nothing
Yeah.
to hang your hat on in
No, it's
2017.
No.
Yeah, so hopefully Shoeface can get it to the ground and show his elite BJJ skills.
Wes, what do you think?
Yeah, and Boats' other 2 wins before that were fucking Hafi and Natal and the ghost of fucking Josh Salmon. So, yeah, I like Shoeface here. I actually think he rolls pretty good. I think he can get Boats down and just work his top game for as long as he wants. Timmy's tough as hell, man, so he might stay in there for all 3. But Shoeface has looked very good here lately. Seems to pace himself a whole lot more. He did seem to pace himself really well against Vettori a few fights back. So yeah, I like Shoeface here pretty big. I'll probably have him in a parlay with something.
They got both these guys at C. I'm kind of leaning with Wes. I think these guys are kind of trending in different directions, and this is going to be the intersecting point where Carlos Jr. sort of passes Tim Bosch. Way younger, more athletic, and obviously the submission game is going to be a real issue if a fight goes to the ground. So I'll take Carlos Jr. To get the job done here. Main card, 4-fight main card now with this fight being on Fox Network. Starts it off with a women's strawweight fight. Courtney Casey taking on the karate hottie, Michelle Waterson. Wes, thoughts on the karate hottie? Is she back, or is she going to lose yet again?
Yeah, I think we was all a little higher on Waterson once she got over to the UFC. Man, but she hasn't looked great or anything. Her 2 wins over her fucking H. Van Zandt and that other shit.
Your Majesty.
Yeah.
Your Majesty.
Yeah, Tisha pretty much, she put it on her pretty good. And I don't know when it all kind of played out, but I know that she was on a show on MTV. It's kind of the Road Rules Challenge. They do one with like celebrities now, and they like film that for like 6 weeks or something like that. And you're living in a hotel and this, and I don't know how long ago that was filmed, but Waterson was on this past season of that all the way to the end of it. I'm thinking it was probably over a year ago, but that's the kind of things that Waterson's got going on and shit outside the cage now. I know her daughter's getting a little bit older and shit. I just don't know if her head is in the fight game like it used to be. And then Courtney Casey, man, I think she's gotten pretty good here lately. And you talk about a tough out to be in a women's fight. She's a tough out every single time out. We've all talked about how good Herring has gotten over the past couple of years, and man, she gave Herring a really good scrap last time out. Beat Jessica Aguilar. Went 3 rounds with Claudia. Beat Randa. So I like Casey in this fight. I think she gets Waterson probably by decision, maybe even a late finish. But yeah, I like Casey here, and she's going to be a bet for me.
I guess I will go.
John.
You do got to go.
Jay over falling asleep.
That'll happen. It's pretty late for Jay, but I think I'm gonna have to parlay the goes the distance. It's minus 215. I don't think either one of these are gonna get finished. Waterson is pretty damn tough. I know she got choked out by Rose, but she took a hell of a beating before that. Yeah. And Casey goes to a shit ton of decisions as well. As for a side, I don't really have too much of a lean either way. Waterson did do a little bit better than I expected against Torres. I thought she was just, after she got smashed by Rose, I thought she was just going to be a shell of herself, just nothing. But she showed a little bit there, but still I don't think she's as good as anywhere near what people kind of thought she was. And, yeah, like Wes said, Casey is kind of done a lot a lot better. She's lost to some good fighters after losing to some bad fighters right at the start of her UFC career. She's definitely taken some steps, beating Marcos and Aguilar, and going to a close decision with Herrig. So I'm gonna pick her, but no bet. But gonna put that goes the distance in a parlay with something.
Yeah, I got both these girls a C+. Waterson, started with a lot of hype, coming over from Invicta, and really hasn't met expectations. Been a disappointment. I'm not sure that's really maybe a fair shake, but that's the reality. There's just been other fighters who've come along who've been, stronger, more dynamic, better finishers, a whole host of reasons. And Casey could be one of them. I mean, she's someone who kind of came in with no fanfare, but she's kind of proven herself to be athletic, hit decent power, has some variety to her game. It's not finesse, which Waterson's more of a finesse player. So I'm going to take Courtney Casey here to get the job done, in this bout. 3 fights left on the card. Next one I know, and I'm sure Wes is really excited about it. Got the dude, the last style bender, he's back, facing Marvin Vettori. Okay, Wes, is this just Vettori being thrown to the wolves?
Man, I honestly think they might be thinking that, but I'm not thinking that. Man, I love the last style bender. I know a lot of people was kind of down on his, he's a kickboxer, so I wouldn't say down on it, but we're talking about him being taken down and stuff. I thought he showed pretty good takedown defense and very good get-ups in his last fight, against a guy that is shitty, but knew that was his only way to do any kind of, get it anywhere towards a victory in that fight, was just spamming for takedowns and shit on him, and he got a couple. Man, but I think Vettori can make this tough. I like the last style bender to win this fight, but I don't think it's as easy as a lot of people are thinking this fight is going to be, and I really am not laying 3-1 on the last style bender here. I just can't do it. I think he wins her. I think he eventually catches him with something, but I think this is a pretty scary fight for him. They're putting him in there with a dude that can make this an ugly fight, and if he can get a couple of takedowns, he could steal a couple rounds here. So I just find it really hard to lay 3-1 on him here. I think he's going to win. I think he can keep this up, and if he does get taken down, I really thought his get-ups were really good for a guy this young in mixed martial arts. But it's just hard to lay a line like that against a guy that I think can make this tough and possibly steal a couple rounds and steal this fight. So yeah, last style bender's the pick, but I'm going to sit back and watch this one.
New Shaun, do you agree with that?
For the most part, yeah. Vettori does have a bunch of sub wins. I don't know how good his takedown offense really is. He would be smart to go for it, because I think if he's looking just a straight trade with Adesanya, it's going to be a bad night for him.
He's dead.
Yeah, like I have a hard time seeing Adesanya not winning here, but we do know how these guys that come from kickboxing, and if you just game plan for that, go all out for that, maybe you can do it. But I just have a feeling that Adesanya is going to be able to knock him out. Nobody's really done that before. The Vettori's only lost by decision 3 times, so that would be a first for him. But if anybody can do it, I think it's the last style bender, because yeah, he looked very good in that debut. I know the like Wes said, the competition was not good, but the skills that we saw with the takedown defense and the get up game looked pretty damn good for a kickboxer. So he should be able to do some crazy shit in there, and I'm just gonna watch. But yeah, minus 270 is pretty steep. I'll just pick him and hopefully he gets it done in a fun way.
Yeah, I rate Adesanya C+, Vittoria D+. I think there's a pretty significant gap between these two guys. And really, it's speed. Adesanya can land from different angles, very quick reaction time, while Vittoria kind of is a guy who, kind of needs to harness in his power to land. The last thing you want to do against Adesanya is to land, irregularly and without speed. It becomes very problematic, in this type of scenario. So I like Adesanya to win. I think he's able to, if he can't stuff the takedowns entirely, Wes touched on it, he can easily, get back to his feet. He proves pretty well in that regard. So I think that's his only worry. Otherwise, I think this is a fight he wins, and wins so going away, probably by finish. So co-main event up next, kind of a weird fight because of the injuries. Got Carlos Condit taking on Alex Cowboy Oliveira. Wes, we'll start with you. Who wins?
Man, you talking about this fight here is I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite fighters ever, and one of the fighters that I fucking absolutely despise the most. I don't really want to say despise the most about Cowboy, because I kind of like him, but that whole shit with Will Brooks, that just that did it for me. But man, I'm just not sure we're ever going to see the real Carlos Condit ever again. Sadly, I'm not even sure it was the Robbie fight that is the sole reason we're never going to see the real Carlos Condit again. I think there's a lot of factors to it. I don't think his heart's in it like it used to be. And in this game at this level, I mean, you got to be 100% in it. And even if he's 95, 99, it's just not enough at this level. I just don't think his heart is completely in fighting anymore. Man, it's hard to pick against Carlos for me, man. But I got a feeling that Cowboy's going to win this fight, even taking it on short notice. I just don't think Carlos is in it anymore, man. Hopefully he doesn't get knocked out or anything, but I think he's going to be giving up to a little bit of size to Cowboy here, and I think Cowboy can body Carlos as much as he wants, and he's going to win this fight, sadly.
Shaun, you agree?
Yeah. From a betting perspective, this fight just screams pass. With Condit just getting beat by Neil Magny, and then before that he was basically retired, and yeah, like Wes said, I don't think his head's in the game anymore. And then you got Cowboy, who is taking it short notice. Last time he was out there, he broke his nose likely. So could he be winning, and then Carlos cracks him and breaks his nose, and the same thing happens with Medeiros, where he ends up losing then? It's tough to put money on a guy like that at minus 200. Does he win? Likely. He's just a younger, fresher fighter, the guy that's fighting is his life. But those warning signs stop me from putting any money on Cowboy. But it'll be the pick for sure.
I got both these guys a C+, and I'm in agreement with both these guys. I favor Alex Oliveira just because he's not done. He's still fighting near his highest level, and it really comes down to what Condit really has left and how much he really wants to put out there and how much desire he really has to win fights in this regard. Because the last couple of fights, especially the last one, you really had to wonder what's going on there. From a skill point, I mean, certainly Condit's more talented. He's certainly, in my opinion, he should have been the champion. I thought he beat Robbie Lawler in that fight. But he didn't, and his career has gone completely sideways since then. So sad to see, but that's just the way it is. And now the main event, one of the most exciting main events in recent memory. I'm really looking forward to it. Probably a surefire pick for Friday of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Gaethje taking on good old Dustin the Diamond, Louisiana's finest, for Poirier. As I like to say.
Poirier.
I'll start with Wes. I know he's been looking forward to talking about this one, so go for it.
Yeah, I mean, in this sport with as much saturation as we get and stuff, like you have to enjoy these fights right here because this is one of the true great fights in the sport. I don't think there's any arguing that. This fight kind of comes down to me as one guy you know what you're getting out of him, and the other guy, you kind of know what you're getting out of him until he goes straight mook. And he seems to be talking about Poirier. He seems to be winning a lot of fights until he goes complete mook. With Gaethje, you know what you're getting here. You know he's coming forward and he's slanging them until somebody goes down. And more often than not, the guy he's slanging them at is the one that's going down. Poirier just has never been good with guys that bring the pressure to him. Poirier is really, really good when he can stand back and pick guys apart. He's great at it. That's not going to be Gaethje here. Gaethje will be coming forward. Man, I bet against Gaethje against Michael Johnson, and I thought I was right for a little bit until I wasn't. Man, I don't even want to say Gaethje has a bad chin, but he's just got some of the best recovery that I've ever seen in this sport. Like that dude can get knocked silly and be out on his feet. He's still throwing punches and he's still coming forward. It's insane to watch sometimes. Poirier, on the other hand, when he gets touched, it's over. He's always been a little chinny. And I think Gaethje's going to eventually he's going to catch him with something. He's coming forward throwing 100 miles an hour. He's going to catch Poirier with something. And I got fight doesn't go decision. There's no goddamn way this fight goes 5 rounds. We got fight doesn't go decision at I want to say around minus 385 in a couple parlays. And then I like Gaethje here as a dog. I took a little bit of plus 125, I believe. So, yeah, Gaethje and no way this fight goes the distance.
New Shaun.
Poirier kind of shits the bed in big fights. He kind of shit the bed against Conor after there was all that build up to that fight. The main event when he fought Michael Johnson, he just got slicked in a minute and a half. He kind of had that Eddie Alvarez fight in the bag, and then he shit it away, and then was probably going to lose before the knee. I just don't think he does well under pressure. In build up to the fight and in fights. And that's what Gaethje does. He's not going to shit talk you before the fight, but when he's in that fight, he's coming. Gaethje did finally lose. For some people, that's kind of a good thing to get that out of the way. It's not weighing on you anymore. This guy is just so much offense. His wrestling is so good, so we don't have to worry about Poirier taking him down or anything like that. Like, this is just going to be all offense, and I'll side with Gaethje. His chin does get cracked quite a bit, but that, like Wes said, that recovery is right up there with some of the best. And Poirier kind of throws fights away, so I'm taking Gaethje at plus 125 for 2 units. I think he's going to be able to get Poirier out of there. Jay, did you fall asleep?
No.
Okay.
I'm just thinking about it. I'm really just thinking about this fight. And, as we talked about, we're going to have 2 consensus picks for this event. And
you haven't figured it out by now.
If you haven't figured it out by now, well, it could be a second play. But it's going to be the side. Obviously, we're not going to get super mooky and go with the fight not going the distance, which I think is as close to a lock as there is. I think Wes would agree.
I thought I muted my mic. Sorry.
Nope. Love it.
No. You made your point loud and clear. So I'm going to say that Justin Gaethje is an A- and Dustin is a B+. Both these guys are aggressive from a striking standpoint, and defensively they certainly both have holes. That's why it's going to be really exciting, because it's going to be, it's kind of a situation of whoever, I don't know how to even describe it, but it's exciting. I guess kind of whoever goes down first kind of loses. It's not going to the scorecards. And both these guys touched on it, that with Gaethje, he's been hit before, and he finds ways to kind of walk through things, and he just never stops. Dustin's a guy who's historically been a very good starter, and then something happens, and he sort of loses that edge, and then tends to fade away. That's really dangerous against somebody like Gaethje, because he just won't stop, and he's been known to come back in fights and really take over in the middle rounds. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Gaethje's most vulnerable in that first round, assuming he gets out of there. I mean, he's only been finished the one time, by Eddie Alvarez, and it took a heck of a lot to get him finished. I think it's going to be his fight to lose, and I think he's going to get the finish. Dustin's had a lot of momentum, coming in, but Gaethje's just a different beast, I think, than anybody else in that division. And quite frankly, probably in all MMA, he's just like a machine. Like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. It's awesome. So this is going to be really exciting. I think it's going to be the fight of the night. And Justin Gaethje gets the knockout win. And Justin Gaethje money line, which I believe is plus 125 currently, right, Shaun?
That's correct.
That will be our second consensus bet of the day, or rather of the week. Justin Gaethje, and then Wilson Hayes. So you got one money line that's a little juiced, and then you have another one that's the plus money. So it's gonna be we're looking forward to it. I think this is there's some really interesting betting opportunities on this fight card. Maybe in comparison to some of the cards that we've seen in March and going back into February. Anything else we need to touch on, or I think we're good for this week?
Yeah. I think we are.
I think it's going to be an early start time, right? Because it's Big Fox.
Yeah, I think it's
weigh-in. The main card is an 8 Eastern start time, so that's good for you guys.
Oh yeah, that's one of those 8 to 10 spots. Yeah, I love those, man. But that means we're gonna have 10 undercard fights. That's probably gonna start at like 4 o'clock.
Don't jinx it yet. Don't jinx it yet.
Yeah, we already put the line out 12.5 even money.
12.5.
Minus 110 each way.
I forgot they better start oiling up the pulleys for Okami, making sure the ropes are new, the pulleys are oiled up.
Oh, that's a good one. I like it.
There's some good mooks on there, yeah.
He might come out of the casket. You don't know, like Undertaker style.
Yeah, do the Ric Flair, come up out of the hospital bed.
Yeah, exactly. It should be a fun night of fights. Obviously the fight at the very top of the card is, kind of makes it all the worthwhile. I hope it's more than a few minutes, just because, and we get a few rounds in, because it'll be kind of one of those sit on the edge of your chair kind of fights. It has all the makings for that, and these are two fighters that absolutely every time they fight seem to be in the contention for fight of the night, performance of the night. So, I've been looking forward to this one for a while. Mm-hmm. I hope everybody else enjoys it, and we'll be back.
It's in your neck of the woods, the next week's card.
Oh, yeah.
Atlantic City, New Jersey.
The land of the East Coast casinos.
It's a pretty decent card that's coming up there.
The last time the UFC was in Atlantic City, they were at a casino that no longer exists. So I'm not sure if that's a good omen or a bad omen.
Yeah.
But you going down for that, Jay?
I don't think so. I'm traveling a lot actually next week, so so that'd be kind of a tough one. But I mean, at least that card, at least at least at the top, looks pretty compelling. Yeah.
That's good. Barboza Lee, Edgar Swanson.
Hell, Aljo against Brett Johns. There's some good fights on that one. Really good fights.
The dude David Branch against Thiago Santos.
Jesus, that might be a murder.
Yeah, that man. Sorry. Shout out to Bob Voss, but God damn, brother, Dana hates your boy, man.
Or David Branch could just fucking lay on him on the clinch him on the cage and tire him out.
Yeah.
You never know.
We got some Jimmy Miller going on.
Yeah.
Jim Miller's already working on a recording career. I don't know if you guys saw his little cocaine.
That's a hell of a hit he's got there.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
That was one of the best tweets I've seen in a while. That was good shit. That was really good shit.
So yeah, that's a really good card. Props to the UFC for putting something like that together. It seems like we've been struggling to develop those kind of deep fight cards. So awesome. So we'll be back. Much more to talk about then. So have a good weekend and enjoy that violent main event that we're about to have. Enjoy.